Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is Giggity, real name is Mark, and in today's video, we are going to be ranking all 35 Call of Duty Black Ops 3 multiplayer maps from worst to best. This is part 16 in our series of ranking every single Call of Duty multiplayer map from worst to best. It's going to be just easier to say which ones we haven't done now rather than say the ones that we have done. So the ones that we haven't done are Modern Warfare 3, the original, and Black Ops 1. And so we will be doing those ones next, and then that's the end of this series. But yeah, this is Black Ops 3's multiplayer. Now, I did go back and play against bots just to refresh my memory. However, I did play a lot of this game, so I do know what I'm saying with these. And some of the other games like Advanced Warfare, Vanguard, some of the DLC maps it was my first time ever even playing them against bots, and so I was just like, you know, don't take it too seriously with those. But this one I really did. And I gotta say, I realized that after playing these maps with bots, I never paid attention to the names of these maps, but these are also, in my opinion, some of the best maps ever made in Call of Duty history. It's such a weird like combo there, because like you would expect like the ones that are like in your opinion the best to really stick out and the names to be remembered, but for some reason Black Ops 3, like again, I went back and played all the maps names didn't ring a bell, but then when I played them I was like, oh my god, that's right, this map was absolutely incredible. And so yes, there are going to be maps that are in the worst tier, because we split these up into 6 tiers: the awful tier, bad tier, average tier, good tier, amazing tier, and the best tier. And so yes, there are going to be some in the awful tier, but even in the awful tier, they're better than a lot of the other maps and a lot of the other Call of Duties, so that's saying something. Also, we're ranking this all based on just personal opinion, and when I do that, I just want to make it very clear, I'm not a competitive player that knows like the best flank routes or whatever, like you know, which map gives both teams the best advantage or whatever. It's just which ones I enjoyed playing and which ones I didn't, and vibes do play a big role in that too, just to keep that in mind. But yeah, song of the day is called Like a Stone by Audio Slave. It is a rock song, so you might not like it if you don't like rock music, but if you don't like rock music, I don't know what to tell you, man. It's good music. Like, I don't know. But without further ado, let's get right into it with number 35, my least favorite map in Call of Duty Black Ops 3. And again, even though this is my least favorite map in this game, it's honestly a pretty freaking good map. Alrighty, but coming in at the number 35 spot, I just had to take a super long break because my dogs were barking. So I kind of lost my train of thought with the intro here, so we're just going to go right into it though. But yeah, 35th place, like I said, dude, even this map, even though it's in my opinion the worst map in this game, that's why it's in the awful tier. It's in the awful tier for this game, but if it was in like the grand scheme of Call of Duty maps, it would not be in the awful tier. I'd just put it in the average tier. It's just average for the grand scheme of Call of Duty maps, but in this game it definitely does feel like the weakest. I just like, there's just nothing really super exciting about Rise. It's just forgettable. There's no fun aspect of it. I guess you can go under the water, but there's so many maps in this game where you can do that. And coming in at 34th and the last one for the awful tier, there's only 2 maps in the awful tier for this game, because again, there's just really good freaking this is peak Ghosts, Advanced Warfare, this game, peak map design, in my opinion. Even Black Ops 2 a little bit. But either way, 34th place is Rupture, which is the Outskirts remake from World at War, with the mechs on it and the mech suits and all that stuff. I just think it's too big. I think World at War maps were very big, and yeah, even with the advanced movement, it just feels too big compared to some of the other maps. It also just kind of another boring setting. Like, the mechs are cool, obviously, it's a cool shift, but it's just like, I don't really care enough about the mechs to even really mention it, you know? Now we're into the bad tier. So maps in this tier are, yet again, I think they're bad for this game. Like, I'm not gonna like want to play on these maps. I was gonna say vote for them, but I'm pretty sure this game didn't have map voting. Actually, I think it did. I can't remember. Either way, yeah, I'm not gonna be excited to play on them, but again, they're not that bad. And 33rd place, I should say, is Spire. Spire's just fine. It's just, the problem is I don't really care for the design. It's like, what is it? You know, it's a random big ship or something in the middle of the air, like in the sky. It's just kind of like a boring setting, where this game has a lot of really cool maps with really cool settings. Like 32nd place, as a matter of fact, Gauntlet. Gauntlet has probably one of the coolest settings in Call of Duty history. It's got this cool design choice where like there's a middle building and then there's 3 distinct different like biomes on each side of that building. There's like a jungle biome, there's like a snowy biome, and then I believe the last one's like a desert biome, and that's a really cool design, but I don't really think the map played too well. It again did feel a little bit too big, which is realistically the main problem with the maps that are down here, is that they just didn't feel like small enough. But again, I would much rather play Gauntlet than something like freaking Grasna Raid or Azir Cave. Like, this map is still really cool, and the design is awesome. Like, a lot of memories were made for sure. Coming in at 31st place, however, is the first, in my opinion, the worst of the base game maps, Evac. Evac just, I mean, first of all, what was it really? Evac implies that they were evacuating from this place for some reason, so it's probably a quarantine zone, which I guess makes sense since it's all like the random like plants growing on things and stuff like that. I get the design choice. It's fine, whatever. But it just, I don't know. I never really cared too much for evac. There's so much relies on like the jetpacks on this map. They really do utilize the jetpacks on this map a lot, which is cool. Obviously, you know, I'm glad that the maps like this exist, but I don't need them to be like the entire point of the map. Coming in at 30th place, however, and the final one for the bad tier before we move along into the average tier is Cryogen. Cryogen has a really cool part of the map, and that is the part with the cryogen chambers on it. But that entire part of the map at the same time is also not that fun to play around on, because it's just like a big jumping simulator part of it. It's kind of like used to like get to other parts of the map. And then the rest of the map is yet again feels a little bit too big and has really no identity besides it's a facility, which is just kind of a little bit boring, and it just doesn't play as great as some of the other ones. Like the number 29 spot and the first one for the average tier, Aquarium. Aquarium is pretty basic. It's a cool setting, obviously. Fighting in an aquarium makes you feel like Finding Dory, but and specifically Finding Dory, by the way, because I am an intellectual and know that Dory takes place in a aquarium, whereas Nemo's adventure takes place mainly in the ocean in a dentist's office. If you didn't know that, you're not a true fan. Either way, yeah, 29th place is Aquarium. It's fun. It's fine for a base game map. It felt okay. Like, again, these maps in this average tier are probably just going to be like, I'm probably not going to have much to say about them besides like their setting. Man, this setting was pretty cool. 28th place, yet again, has a pretty freaking cool setting, but I just didn't really think it played too well. Berserk. Berserk has this like really, I don't even know how to really describe it. It's like a Viking village style setting, I guess you can call it, which is actually kind of flows very well with the futuristic atmosphere of Black Ops 3's like gunplay. I know it sounds crazy, but I want them to bring back this like really over-the-top goofy map designs and stuff like that, instead of just every single map being a facility or a base or a war zone. Bring stuff like this, man. It just, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. No, not at all. But it's so like much more interesting and everything than any other maps in Modern Warfare 2019, Vanguard, Cold War. Like, this map is just an interesting design. Coming in at 27th place, really doesn't have the best design, but I really do like how the map plays. Metro. Metro is another base game map. Definitely one of the larger base game maps too, but still not that big though. That's another good thing about Black Ops 3 is even the larger maps in the game weren't that large. They were still like a relatively normal, average sized map, even if they were larger. And it really like took away camping. Like, camping was just not a thing in Black Ops 3, and it felt so fun. Either way, Metro is definitely one of the bigger ones, and that's kind of why it's just here in the average tier. Also, the design is like, it's okay. The idea of the train driving through the middle of the map is obviously pretty cool too. I gotta give it credit. And I really like the idea where you can lay underneath the train. That's actually really awesome. But besides that, nothing really special about it. Coming in at 26th place, however, is going to be going to Citadel. Citadel is yet again another one of those maps where it's like, dude, where did these cool design choices go? Like, this is awesome. I don't really know what the design choice is supposed to be, if I'm being honest. It's like a random, I mean, I guess it's a Citadel, but it's like a really cool, like, green, like, kind of gives you all Zetsubo no Shima, the zombies map vibes on this map. But I do think Citadel is, again, another slightly too large map, and that's kind of the main downside. But every time I play on Citadel, man, it reminds me of like Dark Souls or Elden Ring, like a Dark Souls level. Like, it just feels so cool. And I like the orange lines going throughout it too. That also kind of fits. Coming in at number 25 spot, however, is going to be going to another base game map, Hunted. Hunted's fine. Yeah, it definitely is, again, another one of the bigger base game maps for sure. But it's very obvious where the people, the players are supposed to go. Like, it is technically a 3-lane map, but it feels like a 2-lane map, and the 2 lanes become action-packed pretty much the entire game, and it's pretty fun. It also is another one of those maps where it's like, you can really demolish with pretty much anything. If you want to use an SMG or a shotgun, you can do that. If you want to use a sniper or LMG or AR, you can do that. It really backs up almost any style of gameplay. Unfortunately, the setting is just a little bit boring, though. It's just like some random like not a facility, but like building, like a random like getaway style building, I think. Coming in at the number 24 spot is still to this day, man, I've said it in every single one of these videos where Jungle makes an appearance, but still to this day, one of my, in my opinion, the more overrated Call of Duty maps. Like, dude, Jungle, every one of these videos, every time I make a Call of Duty ranking all videos, Jungle almost always ranks right here, like the average to good tier in the games. And yeah, and this one is average yet again. Jungle is just, I don't know. I don't really get why people love Jungle so very much. It's a cool map. I love the design and everything like that. And for Black Ops 1, it was fun. It was refreshing. And it was one of the better maps for sure in that game and everything. But I really just never have really understood the reason to bring this map back so many times. Coming in at the number 23rd spot, 23, is going to Stronghold, another base game map that was, yet again, just pretty fun. This is what I mean by, like, Black Ops 3 had the best maps, but it also had the most, forgettable names and stuff like that. It's like, dude, they just all played very well, so none really stood out to you. You know what I mean? Like, never were you, like, playing on a map in Black Ops 3 and you were, like, upset that you were playing on that map. Like, it never happened. So, because of that, most of the maps just kind of felt fun, and you never really were like, in my personal opinion, you just never really like separated them because they were all fun, so you didn't really care, you know what I mean? And that's exactly how I feel with most of these maps. Like, I'm mainly basing these at this point on vibes and size, and Stronghold does feel a slightly bit too large, but honestly, not even really that much. Coming in at 22nd place, however, is going to be going to Verge, which is another World at War remake, actually based off of Bonsai. Bonsai was always a pretty fun map in that game, and in Black Ops 3 remastering it, yeah, it felt good. I do think the only downside though is a lot of these old COD maps, Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare, COD 4, and World at War, obviously, were just large maps because back then they were really going for realism. And so whenever they bring them back into base games, they just feel larger than the rest of the maps. And that's how Verge feels. Verge feels like it's larger than the rest of the maps in the game and just doesn't really play super aggressively like you would expect a Black Ops 3 map to play. Coming in at 21st place, however, is going to be going to Redwood. Redwood's, yet again, another base game map. Always loved Redwood. Redwood, the idea of the trees being things that you can, like, wall run on was so cool. I love the middle of Redwood, how it's, like, Sniper's Paradise, but you could get up into that little, like, this is, like I said, most maps in this game, there's no real camping. Like, camping is not a thing in Black Ops 3. This is the only map where you can actually kind of get away with camping in that little room, the little bunker area. And I honestly think that's fine, because it's, like, does it ruin the game? Not at all. Redwood is not a horrible map because of that one little tiny spot, and it makes it so that there actually is something for a camper to do if they're a good camper, though. You can't just camp there and just get easy kills like you can in most other CODs. It takes some, skill, and if you do that, you can get away with it. However, coming in at number 20 spot is going to be going to Redwood Snow. It's the exact same map, except this one is snow-filled. I don't really know what else to say. The one thing I want to say about Redwood that I forgot to mention when talking about regular Redwood is I love the flank routes on Redwood. Redwood is just, like, one of the more, like flank-oriented maps of Call of Duty history, I feel like. I feel like it's just, like, flanking in this map just feels so satisfying. Coming in at 19th place, however, is going to be going to Rift. I always get Rift and Rise completely mixed up. Like, I always think they're the same map because the names are so freaking similar. Rift, Rise, 4 letters, both start with RI. What is going on here? But Rift is a better map. Rift is just, like, I don't really know what it's supposed to be, like a random, like, space station style thing, I guess. But I love the way they use the jetpacks on this map. The way that you can, like, use your jetpack and get around the map feels very, very fun. I think they did that really, really well with Black Ops 3, to be honest, in total, but some maps just stick out, like, more than others, and this is one of those. I just feel like, I don't know, I love the jetpack movement on this map. And coming in at 18th place, in the final one for the average tier before we get into the good tier, as you guys can notice, a lot of maps were in the average tier, because again, a lot of these maps, they're just good. Like, I don't know what else to say about them. 18th place is Infection. At the time, Infection was such a super cool design, and it still kind of is, because it was right around the same time the movie Inception was released to the main public, and that movie was getting a lot of traction. And in the movie Inception, the town, like, flips over on itself, and that's what the design choice is on this map, is that, like, setting where, like, the world is kind of, like, moving and like, not making sense physics-wise. And so that was actually pretty cool. Like, look at the skybox on this map is a super cool skybox. But overall, the map plays fine, too. Again, it's another one of those maps where it's like, yeah, it's good. It's an average size. I really like the entire part of the map where it's, like, that wide open flanking route where, like, people can get on top of that little, like, mound there and snipe into the spawns a little bit. I like that part. All right, but now we're into the good tier. So maps in this tier just are fun. And it's crazy that I'm putting 17th place as Summit, because obviously Summit in most other games would have been, like, an amazing tier map. But since Black Ops 3 had so many freaking good maps, Summit only makes it to the very beginning of the good tier. It's just, yeah, it's just how I feel. First of all, the big obvious thing I do want to mention is a lot of these Black Ops 1 and even Black Ops 2 World at War remakes, obviously these maps were not made for jetpacks. So a lot of the times these maps don't feel as cool as you would expect them to in something like Black Ops 3. And I would rather play on some of the base game maps because they have, like, usefulness for the jetpacks. In a map like Summit, it's a great map for boots on the ground, but for jetpacks, it just kind of feels like a little pointless. And coming in at the number 16 spot is going to Breach. Breach is a classic 3-lane style map where the entire middle of this map is just chaos 24/7, and it is awesome. On top of that, it takes you like maybe 2 seconds to get back to the beginning of the middle of this map. It is a perfect size. The way they utilize the jetpacks on this map is fun. Like, you can use your jetpack to flank, but obviously using your jetpack means that you can't really use your gun to the best of its ability, so you got to be careful when doing it. It's just awesome. It's such a fun map. Breach is fun. The only downside to Breach is I don't really care for the setting. And coming in at the number 15 spot is going to Slums, a Black Ops 2 remake, obviously, of the map Slums. Again, like I said with Summit, most of the time, if I'm ranking the maps in a Call of Duty game, a map like Slums would have gotten into the amazing tier, but it doesn't in this game, and that's not just because the game had incredible maps, but also because, again, it doesn't utilize the jetpacks as well as a jetpack made map would. Obviously, it's just not as good as something like that, in my opinion. It's not as unique as in a fun experience to play on Slums as it is to play on some of the other maps in Black Ops 3. Is Slums still a great map? Yes, but in Black Ops 3 they had some heavy freaking hitters, like the map Exodus. Exodus, coming in at the number 14 spot, has always just felt so good to me, man. I love this idea of the middle part having the 2 lanes for, like, the 2 floors, I should say, for each people, and both ways to get into the middle. It's such a basic design, but it works so well, and on this map, they use it perfectly. Now, again, just like Breach before, the only downside with a lot of the launch maps is their identity. A lot of these maps just kind of feel relatively similar in their identity, and that's kind of Exodus. It doesn't really have its own setting, you know what I mean? It's just another random town. And coming in at 13th place is the desert launch map of Black Ops 3. Almost every Call of Duty has at least one map set in the desert at launch. Havoc. Havoc was their desert map, although it doesn't really make much sense because there's also snow on the ground. So I guess you're fighting on top of like a desert mountain, I would say. Either way, Havoc is really, really fun. Yet again, it's just like, I'm sorry, I don't know what else to say about these maps besides they're fun. This is one of the ones I will say, though, of the base game maps that I don't really think utilized the jetpacks as well as some of the others. Like, I think Exodus, well, actually, I don't know about Exodus, but definitely Breach used the jetpacks better than something like Havoc. And coming in at number 12 spot is going to finally another DLC map. I feel like it's been a while since we talked about a new DLC map, at least not something like Summit or Slums, but Splash. Splash is set in a water park, I want to say, where it's like you're kind of like fighting. At one point, you're fighting in like a lazy river, and there's like these like water park items all throughout the map. Such a freaking cool design. First of all, I just want to point that out there. It's such a I love that idea. It's so cool. It's like colorful, and again, it's goofy. It doesn't take itself seriously, and that's fine in Black Ops 3, man. I like that. It felt fun to play. It felt different. There's things to look at on the map. There's things that are like stand out at you and look different and cool, and it was just fun, man. I loved Splash. And coming in at the number 11 spot, and the final one for the good tier before we move along into the amazing tier, is Rumble. Rumble is another DLC map that had a cool freaking identity and setting, and it was awesome. It was set in this like arena, like Coliseum style arena, where robots were fighting, though, instead of like gladiators. It was like robot fighting war, and you could obviously go into the arena, but most of the map was set to the outsides of the arena and like the prepping state areas of the arena or whatever. And it was just so awesome. Like, it's just like, where did designs like this go, man? I don't get it. There was just so much potential with Call of Duty map designs from back in these times, and then they just kind of threw it all out the window. But now we are into the amazing tier, and so maps in this tier are just freaking great. Some of the best maps in Call of Duty history, in my opinion, and it's only the amazing tier. And number 10 is Outlaw, breaking its way into the top 10, which is the map Standoff from Black Ops 2. I know what you're thinking. Well, this guy before said that, he didn't really care too much about the idea of having remasters in a jetpack game because it doesn't really utilize the jetpacks well. Standoff does. For some reason, jetpacks work really well on Standoff. It doesn't work well for the wall riding thing. There's really no real area to wall ride, but being able to get up onto different levels of different buildings on Standoff super easily and just break off camping sites and stuff like that actually makes the map, in my opinion, play almost better. Like, it's surprising. I know Standoff is one of the best maps ever made, but it plays so well with the jetpacks. Coming in at 9th place is yet again another map just like that, Empire, which is based off of Raid. It's a Raid remake. Raid was already a great map from Black Ops 2. Really, really fun map from Black Ops 2. But it makes the entire middle part of Raid much better. That's pretty much all that it needed to be like an actual incredible map. It now plays unbelievably well. Raid already played unbelievably well, and now it plays like infinitely better somehow, just because the jetpacks mean that you can't really get trapped. And that was always so annoying on Raid, because you would get these snipers that would go in the middle lane and just camp the middle lane, and every time you walk down the middle lane, they just pop you off rip. But with the jetpacks, you could pop over the middle lane or quickly get out of the middle lane and just get out of their line of sight, and you can't get just like easily picked off like that, and it just feels so great. And coming in at the number 8 spot is Knockout. Knockout is another DLC map, an original map as far as I can tell, set at like a Chinese temple. It's got these freaking beautiful cherry blossom trees on it, and I know what you're thinking, oh, it's just a nice look. No, the cherry blossom trees are like shedding their leaves all throughout the map too, so they're all in the air. It is probably one of the most gorgeous Call of Duty maps ever made. Design wise, it's been done before. I'm pretty sure they've done, I think Ghost did a Chinese temple setting map, and so there's even the map Castle from World at War, I'm pretty sure is like set at sort of like a Chinese temple, Japanese temple, whatever style thing. But it's just so beautiful. The map doesn't play like significantly better or anything than any other map in the game does. It plays fine, but it's not like incredible. I'm not writing home about how it plays, but the design is just, I mean, I'll play on it every day of the week. And coming in at the number 7 spot, dude, what a map. Micro is your so okay, for those who don't know, there's been a couple of maps now in Call of Duty history where you play as a tiny soldier, and you're like a toy soldier pretty much, and everything around you is large. It happened in World War II. I'm pretty sure Vanguard had a setting like that, but this was, I believe, the first time they ever did that, and wow, was it a cool idea. It was just so awesome, man. Like, they did it the best on this one too. Like, some of the other ones, like, okay, in World War II you're fighting at the HQ's beach, so it's all like these beach items all around. In this one you're fighting on like a picnic table at like a little kid's birthday party or something, so there's all these like cupcakes and hot dogs and beer kegs or whatever all around the map, and it's just awesome. It's such a cool design, and it plays well somehow. But 6th place, in my opinion, one of the most slept on Call of Duty maps in Call of Duty history, Combine. Yeah, Combine is awesome. It utilizes the jetpacks so unbelievably well, and it plays so unbelievably well. This is a map where, like, I don't think if they released this in 2025 as like a Black Ops 6 map, it would be that great. I actually don't think so. I think people would probably not really like it that much. Honestly, the setting of the map isn't anything incredible. I will put that out there right out of the way. But it utilizes that jetpack ability incredibly well. It actually probably is, I wouldn't say the best. I think there's one map that utilizes the jetpacks better than the Combine, but besides that one, it probably does the best. The only downside is in sense of the design of the map. The design of the map isn't anything crazy. Coming in at 5th place, however, in the final one for the amazing tier before we get into the best tier, is Firing Range. Yeah, they brought back Firing Range yet again. Firing Range has always been great. Put some jetpacks on it, it feels fun again. I'm not gonna, go crazy for Firing Range with the jetpacks. It doesn't really change it too much. It does. I mean, there are aspects of the map where you'll definitely realize, oh, hey, I just used the jetpack to do something that you couldn't do in previous Firing Range iterations. But it's not anything where you're like, wow, this is changing the map completely. But luckily, Firing Range doesn't really need that. It's already a really fun map, and it plays really well. Coming in at the number 4 spot is going to Fringe Nightfall. Fringe is getting its love, getting its just desserts, thank God, finally. I feel like people are finally starting to realize how incredible Fringe was. Fringe is just... the fact that they haven't remastered Fringe yet is criminal. It's so basic. It's just a 3-lane map, but so many of those lanes use the jetpacks so freaking well. Jetpacks on Fringe is really good. Like, absolutely incredible. The map is just such a fun little sandbox of Call of Duty. It will go down in history as one of the best. Now, I do think the Nightfall version is slightly worse, though, because I don't really understand the point of it. Which leads me into 3rd place, Fringe. Yeah, it's the daytime version of the Nightfall map we just talked about. It just feels better. You can see the enemies better. It's the same exact map, though. We should just move on. And coming in at 2nd place, a surprise to probably nobody, especially if you've watched any of my other videos of ranking the maps yet, Skyjacked. Yeah, I mentioned before, Hijacked I think is probably my favorite map in Call of Duty history. Probably. I don't 100% know that. I don't want to say that. And you bring jetpacks into it, it feels awesome. Like, it feels fun. It just feels even faster than it was before, even better than it was before. It works so well. It just, I don't know how else to say it, man. The only downside to regular Hijacked is that, like, sometimes people could get some power positions on you and kind of spawn kill you. With jetpacks, you kind of can use them to make sure that that doesn't happen. And that's just awesome. There is one map I think is better than it though. And that is surprisingly actually Nuketown, or Nuke 3 Town. Yeah, I've mentioned in almost all my Call of Duty map ranking videos that includes Nuketown that I like the map Nuketown, but it's never been my favorite or anything. In this game, it's absolutely incredible because, say it with me now, the use of jetpacks. Yeah, besides Combine, well, actually, no, this is the only map that I think is above Combine in the way that they use the jetpacks. I think the use of jetpacks on Nuketown makes Nuketown significantly more fun. Nuketown's only big problem with me is that it's such an easy strategy to just lay down somewhere with an LMG and just mow people off as they come down a lane, and you can so easily lock people into their spawns on Nuketown, and that is a big downside to Nuketown. I think the map design of Nuketown, the size of Nuketown, everything about Nuketown is great besides that, and that's really unfortunate. With jetpacks, that's almost impossible to do now, and it just is so good. It's so freaking good. It's so, like, there's so many times where you can't sit there in a power position on Nuketown anymore and just lay down hurt, because there could be a guy flying above you and you won't ever know because he's just like so high above you somehow with the jetpacks. It just makes it play so well. And now you can like see over the truck and bus in the middle of the map as well. You can see over like the little walls that are holding down different angles. Like, it's just, it's perfect. Nuketown, Nuke 3 Town, whatever, is an incredible version. I think jetpacks need to make a freaking return. I'm just going to say it. I think they need to make a return. They made so many maps so much more playable. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's video ranking all 35 Call of Duty Black Ops 3 multiplayer maps from worst to best. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. Let me know what other videos that I see in the comment section down below. And yeah, dude, we only got 2 more Call of Duty games to rank all the maps in. We have Modern Warfare 3, which will be next, and then Black Ops 1, which will finish it all off with that, because Black Ops 1 I probably played the most of in terms of all Call of Duties, and they have probably like the most memorable maps in Black Ops 1. They oh my god, they started so many. I mean, literally just look at this list. We had Summit, Jungle, Firing Range, Nuketown. Those 4 maps right there are from Black Ops 1. Like, they just had such good maps in that freaking game, man. So I'm excited to talk about that one. But we gotta do Modern Warfare 3 next, and then that one, and then we're done. And then we'll probably start a new series. I was thinking about doing something kind of wacky. I know it might not make that much sense, but doing something like ranking every prestige emblem in each Call of Duty game. Tell me if you guys think that that's a good idea. I know I only have 50-something subscribers. Thank you, by the way, for that. That's still awesome. I can't believe it. But either way, I know I only got that many, so most people don't even leave comments or anything like that. But if you guys think that might be a good idea, let me know. I think it's going to be a fun one for sure. But anyway, with that, thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Das Vidania, and have a nice night.